What is going on? Welcome back to another YouTube video. Today, I'm going to be doing some commentary over a massive final table. We are going to be covering the $25,000 buy-in from WCOOP. And when I say we, I mean myself and one of the top regs in the game. It is Giraf. If you don't know him, you're about to get to know him. Not only do we catch up, hear his poker story, hear his life story, we also get an insight into one of the minds of a very, very top reg. He drops way more knowledge than I was expecting him to. And I know you enjoyed when we did the $10,000 commentary with Parker. So if this is something you want to see more of, yet again, get in the comments. Tell me which pros you would like me to do this with. Tell me which final tables you'd like me to cover. And if you enjoy the content, hit the sub button. Thank you very much. What's going on, man? Welcome.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I'm looking forward to this.
It should be a little bit of fun. The one thing that I definitely want to talk to you mostly about just life and your farm and stuff.
Yeah.
But do you play 25Ks? Like, is that a buy-in level that we'd see you at from time to time?
Yeah. I think not all of them. Like this one, I didn't play. But I have played 825K on stars. I think maybe a couple times. But yeah, it's all about like
What the field
getting
looks
action
like?
sold and what the
Yeah.
field looks like exactly, and how you're feeling too. Because sometimes you really don't feel like playing 25Ks, even though it's always fun, but it's a lot of money.
All right. There was a small little moment, YouTube people. Please do not get mad at me where I did not have the payouts on the screen. But as you can see, bottom right-hand corner, we are playing for $657,000, and every player right now guaranteed 110,000. So we pick up the action. I assume the majority of the players on this table, Giraf, you would be very, very familiar with, like almost all of them.
Yeah, so two Brazilians. I'm the Nuts, Crazy Lizzie, Mahdi. I don't know who's Spacey. I think he's also good. Z Justin is Bonomo, of course. Yeah, good players.
Blind versus blind, queen six suited. I would always call here Giraf. I'm gonna bounce around. I'm gonna talk some strategy with you. For the most part, I do want to hear about what's going on with you, but I do want to dive into your mind a little bit because I don't get to talk to the elite players too often. So if there's anything you want to tell me, if there's any little industry secrets that the top lads aren't telling me and you want to spill the guts now, like feel free to do that, all right? That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah. So in general, everybody's very, very bad at ICM.
Okay.
Even the really good players. So here, I actually don't think you should be limping from small blind ever, basically.
Is that a
I
problem?
I
I'm
mean,
the nut stack, like
yeah,
mostly.
yeah, exactly. Because Kowalski is supposed to just go like 3x, and then Bonomo can't do anything. See, Justin can't do anything. I mean, he could like you can have a limp jamming range, but it has to be like kind of narrow. You can't
Yeah.
just limp everything, and then like Queen 6 becomes kind of close. So it's a whole thing where you can't really bluff catch. So if you limp and you get raised pre-flop, you can't really defend as wide as
Okay.
you should. Uh, so yeah, it's kind of it's an interesting spot actually. But yeah, not gonna go too
No, I
deep
know, I know.
firsthand.
I
But
know.
yeah,
I said to Giraffe that look, we're gonna shoot the shit. We're gonna have a little chat. It's not gonna be too serious. And now I'm trying to basically have him break down all of the ICM principles. Is there an element of it's interesting to see the overbet in the river, but is there an
Mhm.
element of because like I'm not involved in the high stakes circuit the way you are, right? Like that's just like I don't play high stakes as often. But do some people feel like they know better, or is it just a product of people not being well versed and studying enough? Do you think? Because like some of the stuff I see, it's like so far out anything that I've studied that like I'm like, all right, well they just obviously don't. They obviously don't agree with the way like the ICM model
Yeah,
works.
yeah. I mean, I have very specific things that I'm pretty sure of that nobody else does. But
Okay.
then, or almost nobody else does.
Do you want to tell
Sense
us?
that
No.
like no. I mean, like for instance, like I call like 0% of the time pre-flop. So let's say a
Okay.
middle position opens. Whether I have like a big stack, middle stack, short stack, I just never flat ever from
Okay.
like cut off or button or anything.
Do you
It's only
see
3-bet fold or 3-bet all in basically. So yeah,
to
that's
shove
one of the
from
things. Yeah,
Padilla? How do you like? You feeling okay with that? Like I would be very
yeah,
happy to shove
that's
Ace Five suited there
yeah,
into
yeah.
one of the bigger stacks for sure. But we do lose a player, and we're down to 7. That's an interesting concept. I definitely don't play like that, and I haven't really heard too many people even suggesting that. Like to be honest, I've
Mhm.
heard nobody suggesting that, so it's pretty cool. Is
Yeah.
that from work that you've done just complete solo, or stuff that you do?
Um, I mean, it's stuff that this is a good jam, I think. Yeah. So it's stuff that I've seen, like the concept of like it's very blocker heavy, right?
Okay.
ICM. So the ranges are very different, and there's very little flatting, except that, I mean, that is like possible plus EV, unless you have like aces in the range a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And you don't really like I really don't think you should be slow playing aces almost ever. So
In
it's
ICM
one of those
situations or
things
just in general?
in general,
Okay.
pre-flop. So yeah, it's one of those things where it's such a kind of face-up range if you don't have aces, where it's like small pairs and an ace jack suited, king queen suited, or something like that. And it's such a face-up range that you can't really play it well enough. It's one of those things. But even if you just look at the solvers that are slightly getting better when it comes to ICM, it takes a lot of computer power to run
Yeah.
these kind of like future game ICM kind of spots. But it's getting closer and closer, and there's just almost no flatting pre-flop. There's also like no flatting of three bets basically, like even in position. There's no flatting. It's just like clicking a
Yeah,
lot
I've
and
seen a lot of that
jamming. Yeah.
from the out of position, where like particularly when you're covered, like you just almost never get to
Yeah.
that call against re-raises. So yeah, man, I did not. I thought we were going to come in here and we were going to be talking about sheep and cats, and I was very excited for that. But now I'm getting
No, we
actual
can do that.
lessons
We
for.
can do
No, I
that.
know we will. There's look,
Yeah.
it's we've
We
obviously
have
picked it
time.
up here. There's a
Yeah.
lot of action, but it won't be like this all the time. KZH opened under the gun here with the large stack. I'm going to assume that you're okay with that. It's obviously a little bit on the wide side, but like I would not find
Yes.
like in ICM situations on Jack 10-8, they decided to bet 70%. And like that's just not something that I would find. Like I would go small a lot of
Well,
the
I
time.
also think it's not good, but I mean, it's not bad. It's one of those things where I think in a normal game it's probably fine, but in ICM it's not really good
Yeah, you
because
just have so much more leverage,
in
right?
ICM, yeah, you just want to just bet 100% basically small, and then just start sizing up on a turn or a river basically because the yeah, the whole thing is like, okay, he knows that you have a wide range, but you can also have like a little bit more two pair combos that are the nuts, etc., etc. So you can just still min bet, and then Amadi can't really bluff catch because there's a guy with 7 big blinds, so
Yeah.
he can't really like bluff catch super wide. Like
Yeah.
even his preflop call, I think was too wide,
That's
by
that was
far
I was
actually.
gonna I
Yeah.
was gonna touch on that. Like obviously a lot of the time when we're just playing chip EV, we're not even dreaming of folding suited hands
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
most part.
exactly.
But like once you get to the final table, you just have to be a lot more snug. It is very interesting. It's 100% the part of my game that I struggle with the most because it's the part of my game that I've studied the least. Which I know, like it's the part of the game where like you make the most money and lose the most money. So
Hmm.
it's an absolute
Well, it's
classic.
also like for me, it's more interesting to look at it because I like watching these kind of final tables, just to see how people play, and I just disagree with everybody all the time. So I feel like I should actually look into it more often, especially because everybody plays different. It's not like everybody has like a similar style in ICM. Everybody really plays differently, because we both know at this point, like normal game situations ICM wise, without ICM, people do start to play kind of similar,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
in general, right? So, but ICM is very different. Like people play, you know, very different styles. I would say. Like here, I mean, I don't know. The ace four is more of a jam pre-flop. It's not. You shouldn't even call on this flop. I think so. Like the whole thing is I just disagree with like basically every hand we've seen so far. And it's a 25K though, right?
I
So like
know, I know, I
they're
know.
these are definitely like very smart, very good players, but it's one of those things where I really do enjoy ICM because I can just openly disagree with people, and it's one of those things, right? Like it's so much fun looking into this kind of
Yeah, no,
very
that's pretty cool. I
yeah.
mean, when did you? Because like I assume that a lot of the reason why you got to where you were was because you were very curious about the game when you first started playing it. But like, I don't remember a time when Giraf Ganger wasn't part of the poker world. So like, when did you start playing online? Like, was it like over a decade ago? It feels like it has to be.
No, no, no. Wait, what year
No,
is it? No, no, no. Well, I mean, I played a little bit before, but I started playing like 2013, I think.
that's
Like,
nearly a
so
decade ago. You don't realize it's
yeah, yeah.
2022,
I know,
bro.
I know, I know. It's 9 years, but yeah, yeah. It's a long time. It's a long time.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it was completely different back then, but it was even then, like the money wasn't like super easy anymore. It was,
yeah,
I think it was like, between 2006 and 2009 or something, it was like free money. But like it
yeah.
started becoming a little bit more serious at that point. So yeah, I joined a stable, and that's how I got all the good coaches and stuff like Ape Styles.
Oh,
So
so Ape Style, I didn't know that. So Ape Styles was one
yeah,
of
yeah.
the people that helped you get to where you are.
Yeah, yeah, especially in the beginning, because he was, by then he was already old school. So I mean, that's how old he is.
True story. The one of the first books that like I felt changed how I thought about the game was Ape Styles' book with, I think it was Pearl
Alki?
Jammer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Where it was like winning poker tournaments one hand at a time, and like
Mhm.
he was playing online poker, and every other poker book was like, like at the time, even the Doyle Brunson, like the super system and all, like everyone thought it was great and stuff. But like this was like the first evolution into like how people play poker online. I'm sure if we were to read it now, like I'm sure there'd be some stuff that Ape Styles would laugh at himself. But at the time, it just felt revolutionary. And that was when I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
17, by the way. So that was 14 years ago.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's very, exploitative,
I know.
but it still kinda makes, uh I've read it, like, 5 years ago or something, and I thought it was kind of, it's kinda silly, like, some of
Yeah.
the hands, but, like, it's still like, the thought process is still there, you can
Yeah.
understand what they're thinking, like, it's
How
still,
do you feel
yeah.
about this bet? Because this is something I would never ever do.
Well,
I would
I
never.
never I mean, I never used less than half pot on the river,
Yeah,
but
same.
I assume it's possible, but still, it doesn't make any sense, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
It just feels like if you're opening the action on the river, you're going to be probably not checking a turn and opening the action with worse than an ace. And
Yeah,
like,
he
why
should
why
also
would you bet?
not yeah, he should also just bet the turn.
Yeah.
It's one of those things again. Like, if you're chip leader, even if your range is, like, crazy wide, like this guy obviously has a super wide range, so nines is, I mean, this call is somewhat okay because it's pretty deep and it's a pair, so it's
Don't want
not
to
that
three bet
bad.
fold, can't three bet get it in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could
Yeah,
3-bet get it in, because there's
could
room
you?
for the other guy can 4-bet not all in, and then you can go all in nines, which is, it's a punt if the guy has kings, but I think it's reasonable
One thing
against some
that
guys.
against some players, like the fact that if you win this pot, like it makes you the chip leader. Like I think I've seen some plays that were quite shocking to me when I've looked at ICM spots where
Yeah,
like if you're going to become the chip leader, you can actually get in a whole lot wider than you feel like you can.
yeah,
This is
yeah,
interesting.
yeah. It's one of those things. That's also kind of important where there's like tournament life and laddering and stuff like that, but there's also the thing
Right.
where if the chip leader is opening, super wide, and uh, you're just playing a tighter range, but you should still get it in reasonably wide, because like you said, if you win the hand or if he four bets and folds and you become like chip leader or something like that, it's such a massive plus dollar V spot that you actually have to take it, even with risk of ruin being like very high. So
This is a pretty messed up spot on the river when you have nines in particular. Like I would
hmm
struggle to find a fold in game when this player, it probably feels like has been playing every pot. But they bet half pot on a turn. Like the most natural bluffs on this river might be something like 9-10, Jack 9. If they didn't see about the flop, they probably would a lot of the
hmm
time though. Um I don't
yeah.
know. I find this is a pretty ugly spot.
I think it's better to have like ace eight here and nines,
Yeah, I would
because like,
agree with that.
yeah, like what you said, you really kind of want not to have a nine here specifically, because it's one of the
Yeah.
hands that he's gonna float and bluff maybe like this,
I
possibly
think
like
if I was playing in game, like I just would refuse to fold his hand when I had a heart, and probably um like find some
yeah.
folds when I don't. I personally probably would have blocked the river. I don't know if that's asking for too much trouble versus chip lead, but
I think it's fine against certain guys. Against other guys, you have to be careful because they
for
are
sure.
gonna turn
Yeah.
their hands into bluffs. But I think in this spot, it would have been okay.
Are you of the mold for the most part, even when you're playing super high stakes, that like the majority of people just have it? Because I've seen some of your rants on Twitter back in the day. I don't know. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
feeling as vocal about the fact that the vast majority of people are pretty tight in every single spot. But I've seen some classics on Twitter back in the day.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely better now, but there's still a lot of spots where people just because it's so hard to bluff in certain spots that you have to turn like second pair into a bluff, or even well, maybe not top pair, but like sometimes you have to turn like real hands, like marginal or showdown, into bluffs because you don't have anything else and you have a good blocker or something like that. And those are still spots that people don't really do. Also, I think a big mistake that still happens is when people use the wrong hands on the turn to bet big, for instance, right?
Okay.
So they use like very high equity hands to bet big, and then everything gets there on the river, and they just have no bluffs, right? So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's just hard to do in those spots to bluff. So those are still under bluff, but in general, I mean, like I said in the beginning, like it becomes a little bit closer to, I mean, not GTO, but like reasonable poker. Like people are a little bit more balanced for sure. And now I think it's more a game of like putting people in. I mean, like in DTO kind of weird game tree kind of stuff where it's just impossible to play correctly
Okay.
because you have to
So
like the
purposely
split and
putting
shit. Yeah.
people into places where they're going to be uncomfortable because they're not well
Yeah.
versed
Yeah.
in studying. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. I've seen pads talk about it. Playing against Dom is very difficult because Dom plays a strategy that the vast majority of people just haven't studied against, and because he's one of the only people playing against or playing that strategy, like it's hard. Where he's using like the limp and the 3.5x strategy. So like I've never talked to Dom about this, but I would guess that one of the reasons he's doing that is exactly what you're saying, right? It's not because he thinks maybe it's the best strategy in the world, but it's he knows that people won't have studied against it as much.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, that's probably why
It's
he
pretty
plays
cool
like
though.
this. I mean, for me, it's actually like the opposite. I just try to play like simple, like really simple kind of poker, and then like I'm almost, I'm skipping a lot of spots where I think, like let's say for instance, in general, just flatting from the button or the cutoff, you have to flat like pretty wide, and I just don't, because I don't think I can play when I'm six stabling, and I'm playing as like another gun range that might be like 1% tighter or 2% tighter, and then my hand goes from 0 EV to like slightly negative EV, and I just don't care, and I just fold, right? So
Okay.
sometimes it's easier to play against me because I have kind of a more tighter range, but at least I know what I'm doing, right? Like it's one of those things where I just give up a little bit of
You don't give up against me, I'll tell you that much. You come after streamers, tell the truth. I don't get paranoid about many people, but
of course, of course, of course.
Poker Luffy, and one Connie B1 who I used to live with, so it's a little bit more excusable. But you
Yeah,
guys, I swear to God, you look down at any two cars and you know it's on the stream and you're like, all right, we're going to be three betting this one. You don't be making those tight falls against me. I know that. You put me in
no,
a
that's
horror
true. Yeah,
show every time I play against you. But you're very
of
fun.
course.
You're very fun to play against. Honestly, I don't overthink that though. Even though I feel it with you, Poker Luffy and Connie, I still just don't respond with like
Yeah,
me getting
yeah,
too out of line of response because I don't know if it's just a little bit of paranoia, right? Like I know you just admitted it, but like I just can't overthink it and try and implement different
yeah, yeah.
strategies against each person on like the assumption that maybe they're coming after me a little bit,
Well, I think what I do is I do like I don't think I play like crazier ranges. It's a pre-flop or anything, but when I have
Well,
like a hand that is possible to be played by like min clicking, or
just the more
like doing
aggressive action in general.
the three bet on the flop or something like that, I'm always gonna take that line, always, right? Like I mean, you have to, right? Because it's fun, min bet the turn, like donk, min bet the turn, like why not?
You do watch quite a lot bit of Twitch, right? Like, because I met you at Lex Live, and at that point, I
Yeah,
didn't know that you watched any Twitch, and like it seemed like that you had like a big interest in getting to know the community, which is pretty cool. Looks like we are about to see
yeah,
I'm the nuts in trouble here. We haven't
yeah,
talked too much about the strategy, but that's like I got some golden nuggets out of you, and I wasn't expecting that, so
yeah,
not too important. But A6 versus the Kings, obviously, I'm the nuts needs to find an ace or some running cards. Oh, there you go, ace on the
yeah,
turn. We still have 7, but yeah, it was pretty cool to hear you talk about it. Just because like I don't know what high stakes people watch any Twitch. I'm sure like if I'm deep in a 5k or 2k or 1k or whatever, and like people will throw it on then, right? Like that makes sense. But in general, I just assume that for the most part, not many of the high stakes people would watch much Twitch. But when you were talking about it, like you seem to watch like quite a few people, and I just thought it was pretty cool.
yeah. I it goes in waves, Sometimes I don't feel like watching poker, but I always watch something on the side. If it's like, I I like Lemmy, to watch the replays from his morning shows. Fun.
Who?
Uh,
Limmy?
that yeah, Lemmy, yeah,
Ah, yeah,
Daft
yeah.
Lemmy,
I
yeah,
think
yeah,
I honestly think that Limmy is the best streamer on Twitch. Like
yeah. I agree. I agree.
I think at one point when Doctor Disrespect came on the scene and had like this insane production value, like he was number one. Now I will admit that I don't watch a lot of Twitch outside of the Poker Directory, and even then, like I stream so much that like I can't bring myself to watch like hours and hours. So like, there's probably some exceptionally good
Look at
content
this.
creators.
Look at this scumbag
What?
disconnecting to look at the chart. This is 100%
the,
cheating, man.
the execute the
Uh,
accusation. Sorry.
Yeah,
Um.
yeah.
See, I wouldn't. It's
Go that
that word.
far?
No,
You
no, no,
know.
no, 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 no. Like I'm not. I just because I stream everything, right? I just never, even if I wanted to, not that I would, like have had the option to like look at anything or do anything, So that it's just outside. I don't even think about it the way some people do. We are about to see an all in though. I don't know if Crazy Lizzie is
Yeah.
going to need to look at this chart, but tens are going to be all in, and Crazy Lizzie obviously going to be all in.
Mhm.
I don't like. Can you even look at a chart like what this? I would not raise call this, but I don't know. For 12 big blinds, like that seems like you are not
I
going to
think
have
it's
enough.
reasonable. I
Yeah.
mean, it depends on how he builds his range. Of
That's what I was
course,
gonna
the
say.
problem
Like
with
it feels like he's not gonna have enough
yeah,
bluffs
yeah,
to go
yeah,
as far as tens. I'm not saying I won't have any raise calls. It just feels tens is quite down there.
yeah. Okay, okay.
Right back in the game, back up to 3.5 million chips. Yeah, I mean, like it's just something that I would
Yeah,
not
I know. I
extend
like for
down as far as
me,
tens.
I don't know. I don't want to talk about it too much, but yeah, like yeah,
You have your
it's
doubts at times.
it's no, I don't have doubts anymore. I know for a fact.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where like I could I could point to like a couple guys on this table, to be honest, but
I got it.
I
I don't want to get. I just came on here for a little
uh,
chat with my boy Giraffe.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
let's talk to me.
yeah.
How did you end up living on a farm?
Uh, well, I first so I mean my story. I don't know if a lot of people
Yeah,
know, but
give us a
yeah, yeah,
little download. So for anyone who doesn't know, like I'm about to get more of a story than I even know, but Giraffe Ganger a lot of the time will post on his Twitter um pictures of many different animals. And I don't know how many cats you have or how many animals you have, but I would love a breakdown and I'd love a little bit of history with the story because it's a very fascinating one. It's very unique in my opinion to the poker world and it's not something that you see a lot of.
yeah. So when I was 17, I dropped out of my last year of high school.
What age are
Uh,
you now? Sorry, just so that we have like, an idea of when this was.
Now I'm 31. Yeah, 31.
Cool.
So yeah, and then I started working at a bar and also living at the bar. The name is the Giraffe was the name, so that's where my name comes from, my online screen
Ah,
name.
that's really cool.
Yeah. So and then I met my girlfriend at the bar, so I moved in with her, and she's the one with the animal love.
Okay.
So
You
Yeah,
just
so she
wanted
had
you were in love. You wanted to make sure that you were going to be able to stay with this girl, so you fell in love with the animals too, right?
well, not really, but yeah, I mean, it kind of went pretty fast. Like now I'm like the crazy guy with who wants to have like more cats and more animals and stuff. But yeah, at that point, I didn't really have any pets. I had like a cat or something like when I was growing up, but not really a lot of cats. So then I moved in with her, and she had like horses, two dogs, and a couple of cats, and yeah, that's how I rolled into that kind of thing. And over the years, it just expanded with the cats, basically most of all. Like now we have 15 cats inside, so it's a
Wait,
lot.
15 cats inside. Does that mean that you have more cats outside?
Well, we have like we still feed the strays, so there's like 3 regular strays that we have here too outside. Yeah.
And would you know that
Uh,
like this maybe this is a silly question because I guess you would, but like you would have a name and know all of these cats like by name, right? Like they're
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. So yeah, so now I have, so now then we moved, and now we have a little bit more room. So we got like a couple of sheep, a goat. Our pig died. I think like
that's
yeah,
so
yeah,
sad.
yeah, yeah. Sad, sad.
The one thing that I think I would struggle with, myself and my fiance always talk about potentially going down the country and getting a little bit of land, getting some animals, and maybe not replicating exactly what you have going on. But I think the amount of debt of animals would that's a pretty gangster bluff to get through there. But
Yeah,
the amount of debt to go through, I think I'd struggle. But I guess you just love them when they're alive and give them a good time, and then like you can't be too sad about it, right? Or is that not
yeah. I
wrong?
mean,
Does everyone hurt?
yeah. I mean, they all hurt. Like today, lost a chicken, which is, it's just a chicken, but it's not really. I mean, like it's one of those things where like they have like a little personality, and
Of course, yeah.
you attach yourself to them, and then it's going to happen, but it's always fucked up.
This
So
just one question before because I just I am enjoying the story, but see this limp here with 10-9 suited, like I would pure raise and probably with these stack setups just jam this hand. Like I don't know how you feel
how
about
deep
that.
how deep I
I
would
think it's
never
big
limp,
blind.
but
It's big blind 160. So I think so. I think it was just
yeah,
like
yeah.
23, 24 bigs. It's
No,
just
I would just open like 2.5 because he can't really do it. Like I mean, he can't call ever,
yeah. See the
like
way the
nothing.
way I would
So
construct it would be like the bottom of my range I would raise, and then
mhm.
top of my range I would raise, and then like this middling area, like obviously I know like you need to have some board coverage and you can't just like have none of these like suited hands, but like this like middling area, like I would just shove, like I would just be all in. But maybe
Yeah.
like it's just too problematic with the thing we mentioned before, like they're almost chip leader if they call in all in, so they
No,
maybe
no,
don't have to.
no. No, I don't think he's gonna call wide at all
No,
in
not
this
super
spot.
wide, but just a little bit wider than like maybe like they call like nines or something, right? Like they're not gonna, and like some like
Yeah,
maybe
maybe,
like
maybe. I mean, I
anyway.
think
Sorry.
I feel like here he shouldn't call super wide, but like yeah, I do agree. You shouldn't limp. You should just open
Hmm.
everything. It's one of those things where I mean, so Kowalski could maybe have a read on I'm the Nuts that I'm the Nuts doesn't
Yeah,
jam
that's
enough or something, and then just limp, the whole middle part of his range, right? So something like that. So we don't know that part,
yeah,
but
yeah,
in general, I wouldn't really have like a strategy where I limp a lot in small blind as chip leader
yeah, yeah. I
into
guess that's the one thing
third
that I
stack.
don't take into consideration is that these players, like they have a lot of hands on each other because they're playing these small player pools all the time,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah,
so
for
you've
sure.
you've 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 got yourself two sheep, a pig. No, sorry, not pig. Excuse me, a
Yeah,
goat. The goat was the
yeah,
first time I seen that on Twitter when you were sharing the pictures of the goat, and I was
yeah,
like, that man is living the good life. Like it just
yeah.
seems. I'm sure there's like hard moments with it because there's so many animals, but from the outside looking in, it looks pretty spectacular.
Yeah, so that's why. I mean, now I'm not playing a lot anymore, just because I I don't have that passion at the moment. I think it'll come back because I'm still doing some coaching and
Yeah,
getting some coaching. So it's still I still want to play, but at the moment I don't feel like playing. so I just don't play. I think in the past I would have forced myself to play because that was my thing, but now I just want to hang out with the animals and see what happens. But yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Is there
It sucks when
any good?
the weather's bad, but
Okay.
like if the weather's great, you can just spend the whole day outside drinking beers and just hanging out with the goat and the
Is
sheep
there
and
is
yeah.
there any are you always plowing money into it, or like is it to the point where you have like almost like a little functioning farm where like you at some point when poker's all said and done and could you like make it self-sufficient, or is that like nowhere near like that kind of
No,
buzz?
no. I mean, like the plan was to have like some kind of alternative income from having like kind of B&B kind of thing.
Also, sorry,
But we,
oh, sorry, B&B. Yeah, yeah. So like
yeah,
people
so
come
but
visit.
we
Yeah,
still
yeah.
have to do like some investments and shit, so it's not gonna happen now. But yeah, with the animals and stuff, I mean, there's no it only costs a lot of money. You can't
Okay.
really get money
No,
out
I
of
just
it.
thought,
So
like chickens, like you could be selling eggs. Like I don't know how many, like just locally, like just a
nah,
little
nah.
bar. Nah. Yeah, I don't know.
Do
Maybe
do
I
you
just
want do
have
you
it.
want me to go on like a whole vegan tangent here? Because like no
Oh,
eggs, no
sorry,
eggs.
sorry, sorry, sorry. Oh, so there's all right, but okay.
No,
I didn't
no, but
realize.
the chickens when they're not in like a farm, well, I mean in like an environment where they're supposed to lay eggs, they don't actually lay a lot of eggs. Like once they're
Okay.
out, they lay like 15 eggs a year.
Okay,
So
okay, okay. So
can't
don't
really yeah, yeah.
don't bring up anything to do with
No.
potentially selling anything to do with the animals again. I
Yeah,
am
exactly, exactly.
apologies, mate.
No, no, no,
Apologies.
it's fine, it's fine.
When did to go back to your story a little bit, were you vegan prior to working in this farm, meeting this girl, getting this farm, or is that like
No, no, no.
it's like
No,
been
it's
a
same kind
process
of
over the last?
thing. Yeah. I mean, she was vegetarian on and off, and then I became vegetarian, and then she went vegan, and I went vegan. So now I don't know. I always forget when, but now
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
been a
but
while. I think
yeah, yeah.
like 5 years or something. I've been vegan, so 5 or 6 years. So, yeah.
What you got with this ace queen suited, it feels very, very close. I would probably fold, but
Um,
it feels super close.
I mean,
Like
he's
I'm,
opening a lot, so I think it's a call, but you could just fold too. I mean, it really hurts your stack if you lose this one, so I think you can
yeah.
just fold.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I was biased by the fact that I seen that Amadi just had the ace king here, but like
Mhm,
even if Amadi thinks that Kolovsky is getting out of line, like it's not the spot where I think they can
yeah,
shove super wide with Lizzie Stack and Z Justin, and the fact that they are opening in first position. So it wouldn't
mhm,
surprise me to
yeah,
see a call here. Like given what I've seen of the way these lads battle on the higher stakes, like one, but that's
yeah,
a pretty impressive fold given
yeah,
the fact that Amadi had the ace king in this situation.
yeah. I think it's a reasonable fold. It might look a little bit crazy, but I don't know. When you see the hands, it's like, oh yeah, it's a good fold. But
Yeah.
like folding ace queen is kind of crazy in this spot, like for 16 big blinds. So, uh, but I do think it's a reasonable fold. I don't think it's crazy.
What do you feel about like I don't know, this to me looks like a legitimate tank, right? And I'm obviously biased because I can see the hand, but I don't know if people balance that well enough, right? Like I don't know if like maybe when they're sitting with the very top of the range they do, but
Mhm,
like he went into his time bank there and
yeah,
then finds the shove. I don't know. I always
yeah,
I always get paranoid. Like when I think about it for too long, maybe I just overthink it. But when I think about it for too long, I start to be like, oh god, I have to fold just because like it actually is kind of close, and now I've made it obvious that it's close. But maybe that's not a thing because then
I think like if you're once you start feeling, oh, I'm tanking too long, it's too obvious. Just keep tanking. Like just tank like another 30 seconds, because then it's like if it's you can say, oh, I was to going to the bathroom or something, right? Like
well, the
it's
thing
all
about it is sometimes if people want to get timing reads on me, I legitimately am just dancing around my room like a
yeah,
dickhead, and then they're like,
yeah.
oh my god, he's obviously got a real tough decision here, and then you like tune into my stream, and I'm like fucking doing
Aces dancing.
360s, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. um,
Exactly, yeah. So it's always better once you start tanking, when you're actually thinking about a hand, it's better to just tank like a little bit more, just to balance it out again, in my
yeah.
opinion.
Are you familiar with this player? Space 411? Did you say at the start? Because that's the one name
No,
that
no.
I'm not so
I
familiar
I
with.
think I think I might know who it is, like
Okay,
from
I'm
other
not, I'm
sites,
not, I'm
but
not, I'm not, I'm
yeah,
not looking for you to out them. It doesn't seem like as one of
yeah,
the
no, no,
regular names.
yeah,
This
exactly, yeah.
seems like a turn that they should bet a lot. And with
So
this hand,
especially because he min bets the flop,
yeah,
like he still has all the aces for sure, like 100% of the time. So yeah,
wow,
he
okay,
even checks back the river. I mean, that's kind of
it's a
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, because I mean, I don't know if he's gonna get called by a king even on the river, but he can still get called by like ace 10, ace 9.
yeah. I
So
mean, I'm pretty sure on the nuts would have found a fold quite easily with Queen 10 when it went.
yeah, I
But
think
I
so
don't know
too.
though, because maybe he just gets it into his head that they have a lot of like smaller pairs and they're turned into a bluff. But yeah,
Yeah. Well,
obviously a
yeah.
little bit more of a different hand.
Mhm.
I'm not going to see anything here. Is he just going to be all in and everyone going to be folding? So you say that you're not feeling poker too much now, um, and you said that you might get back into it. Would you feel a little bit more pressure or inclined to want to get back on the grind as the bigger series start to roll around, like when we get into the spring and Scoop is beginning and any other big
Mhm.
series going down? Like, is that something that brings you in, or if you're out, you're out, and it doesn't matter what series is running?
I think it might bring me back in. We'll see. I don't know. Normally I don't really. I do. I've been taking a lot more breaks like last couple of years because at the start I was just playing literally every day for like three
Yeah.
years, 4 years straight, and now I'm like more. I play like a month and then I just lose my mind and then I have to quit for a month. So that's where I'm now. But I think I might take a longer break now and see what happens. But I might come back, play some scoop. We'll see.
I hope that I'll be battling against you, but we see Lizzie shove in here, and I think pretty standard stuff for 7 big blinds or whatever it was. Um,
Yeah.
from Amadi, and there is the 9, which is going to have Lizzie out, and we are down to 6 players. Every player now guaranteed $183,000, so not a bad payday. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I think as you get older, to like find interest in other things as well, right? Like you obviously just feel at your best when I assume you're getting up a little bit earlier, right? Because like if you're looking after all these animals, is it mostly you and your girlfriend, or is it only you and your girlfriend, or is it just only you? Like is your girlfriend like there
No,
on
she.
the
I mean, she does the biggest part. I think. Well, I mean, now I do more because, like you said, I am waking up a little bit earlier. But yeah, she did most of it when I was grinding. She did everything.
Do you have any
Like the
dogs?
ho-
Like you mentioned a lot of animals.
uh,
Sorry, I just could have caught up. I was just
I
like you
mean,
mentioned a lot of animals, but then there was no mention of
yeah.
dogs. Is it
No,
problematic to have a dog potentially with all these animals?
no, no, no. He passed away also.
Oh God.
Yeah, yeah. You keep going there, man. You
Oh
keep going
my
there.
God. Oh my God.
I should have
You should have gave me a list. You should have gave me a
yeah,
list
yeah,
before. I'm like,
exactly.
don't
Yeah.
mention the pig. Don't mention the dog. Definitely don't mention the chicken.
No,
We are
no,
gonna.
yeah, it's no. I think like at the moment we're good, but when the opportunity comes along, we'll probably find another dog or maybe
Yeah.
two. You know.
Are we gonna see a call from King 9 here? 10 big blinds. I would probably call. Feels very. I would snap King
Um,
10 and hate my life with King 9.
I think you have to call because he's by far the short stack,
Yeah.
so he just gets the jam super wide here.
Kolovsky is going to get there against you, Justin. We are down to 5 players. Yeah, I would call, but I'm sometimes like I make calls and then I check out the correct answers afterwards,
Yeah,
and I'm so far off. But I'll tell you one thing: I'm never too tight. It's always the wrong way. I'm always too
yeah, yeah,
wide. Like I'm never
yeah.
like, oh well, I should have called that. I'm always too wide.
But the interesting thing about ICM, even more than in regular game, is if you just tweak the range like 1% or 2%, you can make it look good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. You're
it's
all,
one
the
of those
thing. The thing
tricks.
as well that I think that makes it quite complicated is that like you're making a lot of assumptions, and the big thing that you mentioned, which is kind of sticking with me, and like you're right, like it's very exciting because people are playing so differently, but then it's like you don't know exactly what way people are playing,
Yeah,
and like trying to get the correct inputs to then
yeah,
like
yeah,
find the correct answer, because like if you're putting bad inputs into a solver, like you're gonna get bad answers, right? Like you can study that all you want and it's not going to help. Like, and I'm not saying like I'm not trying to like be some lad who's like, oh, don't study it, but it can just be tricky to make sure
yeah.
that
No,
you're
I think the most value comes from like learning your own
Yeah.
game as thoroughly as you can, because even if you make a wrong assumption or whatever, like your overall strategy is still fine, right? Like if you make a wrong read, it doesn't really matter if your overall strategy is sound. If you know what you're doing,
Yeah.
even if you like deviate, it's fine. Or even if you think, oh, this guy is too tight and he calls with like a crazy hand or something like that, it's still, it's a mistake, but it's not like, I think a lot of I think like maybe the biggest misconception, I mean, maybe like more in the old days, was when people like put a lot of like they ask about the big hands, like they're like, oh, should I
Yeah.
three
Yeah.
bet this? Should I four bet? Should I bluff catch this? And I just never care. Like I just don't care, because these hands are not important. Like these hands happen like 1 in 1 million times or 1 in 100,000 times. So you can't really learn anything from it. Like it's way more important to like plug
Just big
folding in
blind
the big
versus
blind, or
turning
yeah,
big
something
blinds
like
deep.
that, right?
Yeah.
Those spots are way more important. So yeah.
That's funny enough. I had a video. I did a video prior to this, which might be on YouTube at this point, might not. But one of my friends, I'm doing a little series with him where I help coach him. He's like playing low stakes, and we use DTO to go over it. And I asked him for a list of things, and like straight away, like Tom's gonna be listening to this, and there's nothing wrong with it. But Tom sent me a list of things that were like quite unique spots, that you just don't drill a lot, and I like that you just don't come into a lot, right? Like it might be like, I don't know, I can't remember exactly what the word, but it might have been like facing over bets on rivers 60 big blinds deep when it goes bet check bet or something, right? And I was just like, well, that's just not going to happen a lot, like people are just not going to bet check over bet at your stakes very regularly. And it's just a very similar thing where it's just like, just get the basics down and get them good. And it's interesting what you said about how you just are happy to like simplify your strategy just so you can execute it so well. And I think it's a pretty good thing to take away from this. But I like, if you've been I didn't think you were going to talk much strategy, and you've been
I
an
can't
open
help
book so
myself,
far. Yeah, man, I'm gonna get you on every
Yeah.
week. I was like, hey, we're gonna go through the Big 11 final table from last week, and it's just gonna be me playing it, and I'm gonna be like, here we go, Giraffe. There we go. Tell me how to play.
Yeah. I would love that.
I mean, look, if you want to go over one of my hand histories sometime, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
That'd be cool, man. I don't study with anyone anymore. Like I don't know if you're a lone wolf or if you are a man who thrives in a group. Obviously, you mentioned the fact that Ape helped you a lot, but I pretty much fly solo with most of it now. I get like BBZ coaches me, and I obviously use DTO a lot. But like in terms of like actually scheduling time with another human to go over hands, like I just don't really do it.
Well, I do it more now, to be honest. And I used to be a little bit more because again, it was more exploitative, right? So for me, my brain works in a way where I just try something, right?
Yeah.
Some smart guy tells me, oh, you should just check raise small, super high frequency, and I'm like, okay, let me try that, and then I just keep doing that over and over and over again, and then I start understanding the spot better, and now it's a little bit different because you know, it is closer to GTO, especially. I mean, I'm playing pretty high,
Yeah.
so like these people are not like, making simple mistakes.
You're not getting away with very simple exploits where like you bet
Yeah,
super small in
exactly.
spots to make people overfold. Like stuff like that's just not going to fly.
Yeah, exactly. So it becomes like different, and you need to look into it more. So I do some basically with poker. There's like a lot of players who play like mid stakes and are moving up the stakes pretty fast. And then I think that, oh, this guy is very smart and he works very hard on sims and shit like that. And then I just pretend to coach him, but he's coaching me basically. Just he just shows me sims because I don't want to run sims. I don't have like anything on my computer, so I
Yeah.
just
Okay.
have a guy who I pretend to coach, and then he's just coaching me,
You
right?
got,
So
yeah. I hope none of them watch this video. No, I'm sure they won't
no,
mind
no,
because
no, no,
you
no.
do
He
you do
knows.
the
He knows. Yeah,
you do the work
yeah, yeah,
together, and like they lean on your experience and like your actual understanding of how the game works like in game, and then they show you like these cool ideas, and you can like that's
yeah,
not gonna fly. Do you
yeah.
do you think that you'd still fall in love with poker the way you did? I assume. Like, is it fair to say that you at one point were obsessed and fell in love with it? Like, or it wasn't always just like
Yeah.
this is going to be a job? Yeah, that's the vast majority of people. Like most people I know that made it, particularly to your stakes, but even the stakes that I play and are like doing well at those stakes, like they just fell in love, became obsessed, and all they did was think about and play it. But if you were
Mhm.
to be, 21, 22 now, and the world and the game that we play in, as you said, as you get to higher stakes, is far more solver based and GTO. Not that it's impossible. I'm sure some people argue to play without much of that knowledge, but like, do you think it would be harder for you to fall in love with it? Because it sounds like you're the kind of guy, which was a very, very familiar story, who like just played infinite amount of hands, picked up on the tendencies of players, and like learned how to exploit that without ever really looking at sims. Like, do you think, is
Mhm.
that fair to say? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so like, do you think you'd fall in love with it the same way these days, or do you think you'd struggle a little bit to get into it?
Well, I mean, I would say the game, not just the way people play it, but just how the sites, like the sites are different now because
Mm-hmm.
it's more regulated as well. Which,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I used to be like a proponent of it, but now, of course, not because it's completely terrible. The way governments, you know, like the
Interfere
rule,
and
yeah, yeah, like it's all like in the guise of like helping people with addiction or stuff like that. But
when really it's just about tax
yeah,
dollars.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So nothing really works. So of course the level of entry is a little bit different, right? So I started playing, stealing like my mom's credit card and playing like
Kids, don't do that. Gamble responsibly. Be
yeah,
safe. I
yeah,
need to at least say that much.
yeah, yeah. Of course. But like now, you shouldn't do that, of course. But like
It's such a
it's a lot
classic. Do
harder.
as I
It's a lot
say,
harder
not
to
as I
do
do.
that. It's a lot harder
Yeah,
now to get
yeah.
into the games and stuff like that. But to learn the game, it's a lot more like it's way more accessible now. Like way more accessible. Like it looks like, oh, Pio is expensive. Okay, Pio might be expensive, but like BBZ courses are very cheap.
That's an
Um
absolute top class plug. $99, bbzpoker.com. Any course you
yeah,
want. I have my own course coming out soon. You can learn it all.
yeah, yeah. I mean I work for pokercoaching.com, so you can check that out too.
That's fair. Look, you get the
Yeah,
plug
yeah.
stuff on here. That's fair. That's
No,
fair.
but it's fine, it's fine. Like, but the thing is, like, it's way more. Now if you have like, I mean, not everybody can do it, of course, but like some people have this kind of
Yeah, there's
brain
an
that
there's an
works well with
abundance
like,
of
yeah,
information available now, whereas prior to it, like when I first start loving playing poker, I'm not sure if you'll even remember this player, but I used to open up the full tilt poker lobbies. The first player that was always at the top of the list who played a huge amount of tables was a guy called 16 Disease, and I don't
yeah,
even
yeah,
know. I didn't even know if he was good. I just saw him in every single tournament. He probably played 25 tables, and I used to just open up his tables and watch him cards down because that was like that was how you watched Twitch, right? There was
yeah, yeah.
no live stream, there was no cards up, there was no social media to like know who these people were. Do you know?
Hmm.
You obviously, I'm sure you know Mickey Peterson,
Yeah, yeah,
Mehmet Morey. Like
yeah.
I used to read about him on 2+2, and I seen some of his screenshots where he's playing like 25 tables and like he's Danish, and I was just like, oh my god, he's going to be like a 6'4" monster. And I had this like image of him like of this aggressive like out of control player from like I was like 19 at the time, so this is a long time
Yeah,
ago. This is like back in 2010. Then I met him at a UKPT, and he's like this lovely, small, unassuming guy, and I was just like, what? Because there was just no
yeah, yeah.
access to these people. Like they were just screen names. Like the Isildur thing, like that would not happen today, right? Like there's no one
No,
who's not like in terms of the finance thing, like where someone would spin it up and play for millions, but that would obviously be tough too. But like to go under the radar and to be this unknown name who's just crushing the biggest names in the world, like it just wouldn't happen. Like I don't know. It was a little bit more mysterious and it was cool.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I agree. I'm going on a massive tangent here.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
no. It's fine.
I
It's fine.
do
We have
I do
time.
agree. I do agree with you that if you're the kind of person who gets into poker, falls in love with poker, and then decides this is what I want to do, like there is the ability to find the information a lot easier to get to like a very reasonable level. But the vast majority of people like the idea of playing poker, but they don't want to put the work in, and they don't want to actually study and get better, right?
Yeah, but of course, I mean,
But that's okay.
not
I love it.
everybody. Yeah, that's fine too, right? Like you don't if you have like if you just play for fun, or even if you have aspirations to get better, and even if you fail, it's fine, right? Like it's just another thing. Like it's not. It's just a game, right? you have to enjoy it because otherwise it doesn't matter because you will never make it if you don't enjoy it. Like I know
100%.
like nobody who hates poker that made money. Like some of the cash guys maybe pretend that they hate it, because because it's so predatory, right? Because like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
you have
It's
to
a
bum
different
hunt
world.
so much, and it's so like it's really predatory. So they hate that part, but they still love the game, right? Like,
Yeah,
uh, so the game itself is I mean it's the best game ever made. Like poker in
I
general,
love to hear that.
Hold'em, like tournament for me, like I love tournament poker. I play a little bit of cash now for fun, but like it's not the same. There's no
No, there's no story. There's no beginning, middle, and end where you have this
exactly,
like
exactly.
rags to riches. Like you're
Yeah.
playing low stakes, you get the break, you play this big tournament, boom, you've had the score. But
Mhm.
I couldn't agree more. Like everyone who comes to me and is like, I want to be a professional poker player. I'm like, first off, I don't know anyone who wanted to be a professional poker player and then had to go ask someone for advice. They had to like battle with their parents or their friends or their girlfriends and be like, this is what I'm doing. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. Like that was like anyone I know who made it. But I just say to the vast majority of people, like, just treat it like a trip to the cinema where you could potentially win some money, but just use whatever you can afford, like the disposable income, and don't sweat it because like people, it's like, all right, I would love to be a chess grandmaster, right? Like I'd love that. I think that'd be so cool. But like
Yeah.
I'm not aiming to do that because I know the time it's just not something I like. First of all, like my age might like even make that difficult. But like even to get like to like a very respectful level. But I still love playing chess, right? Like I don't care
Mhm.
that I'm not gonna be competing against the best players. And I just think it's a weird thing with poker because there's money involved. That people like automatically I guess it hurts more to lose money than it does chess games. So maybe it's not a fair assumption or a comparison.
Yeah, but I mean, like if you just think back of like the first like big 11 that you win, like there's nothing like it. There's nothing
Dude,
like
that
it,
was
man.
my
There's nothing
actual
like it.
first. That was my first
Yeah.
break. But do you know what? Do you know what? This will make people sad, and the people who are newer to the poker world were like, "What are you talking about?" But like, I got second in the Big 11 on a Tuesday for $9,000 when I had my
Yeah.
first kind of break.
Uh-huh.
Um,
For me,
Mad.
it's similar. It's similar, similar. Then
Yeah.
you take a shot and you lose a lot of money, and you grind it out again, and like the whole journey is also part of it. Like, I mean, it's always better if you actually succeed in the end, of course, but like it's still, I think about like the first time I tried and I didn't, succeed. Uh, but I still enjoyed it. I still had this kind of love. Like you see, like Poker After Dark on TV, like these old episodes, and you watch them when you were younger, and it's like okay, it's not the same anymore, but you still have that kind of like if you see Phil Ivey play, it's still you still have that kind of love for the game.
Yeah.
That's yeah. I think yeah. For me, it's still greatest thing ever. But
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to hear you say that because obviously you are mentioning that you're taking these longer breaks, but there is a love there still, and I'm pretty sure we're gonna see you during Scoop. That's all I'll say
yeah.
for sure. But I think it's most things in life. Like I know it's easy to say as like I've done okay, you've done very well in poker, but if you don't enjoy like the journey of getting to that point, like what is the point? Because like it's not going to be like some X amount of dollars that you're going to win and you're going to be like, oh, well, that's it. Like very few people are going to make retirement money in like a 3 or 4 year period from poker.
Yeah.
It's not possible, but it's not likely. So if that's the end goal, like I don't know, I think it'd be a bit empty.
Yeah. Yeah,
I just,
I think that's
go.
also, I mean, one of the things that maybe poker is good for is it's actually better if you live in kind of like uh historically shit country basically, right? Like where the average wage is a lot lower, so you can actually play like at a certain level where people play for fun in other countries, but you're taking it seriously and you can actually win like real money
Yeah.
for you, right? So it's one of those things where it's a very fair game. I would say poker. It's one of those things where I
Mhm.
just really like everything about it, basically.
I think this overbet's super ambitious for what it's worth. Like, it, I'm pretty sure this is a limp pot and check to the river. Like, I'm just not convinced.
Mm, I think it's I mean, if he gets called by 6, it's obviously not good.
I just feel it's hard to justify betting more than pot when you've checked twice here in this situation. When you're chip leader, you check pre-flop, check the
I
turn.
mean, the trick is to do it wide enough that it starts to make sense again, right? So you have to do like queen 10 or something, like overbet the river.
Yeah, but like I just skipped forward there because of the 5 minute break. Yeah, we were just talking about the overbet. So yeah, I mean I'm just not convinced that in this situation you're gonna want to check your better queen X a huge amount on a turn would be my
Yeah.
problem. When Amadi has limped in, which they're probably gonna like do. I know you said that you shouldn't do a lot of limping, but
I mean, if KZHH is not gonna isolate every single hand, I mean, he can start limping, of course. Yeah, you can always try. If the guy doesn't like raise every single hand, you can limp certain hands for sure. But then, I mean, it gets checked down. Yeah, maybe it's not. I think it's definitely not necessary to bluff big there. You can just rep a jack and bet small.
I'm just yeah. I mean, look, maybe look KZH is way better than me in poker, right? It's just I just find it hard to like open the action for more than pot
Mhm.
when you've checked twice and checked pre-flop. Like you don't have a huge amount. And like when I say a huge amount, like when I think like I'm not saying like they need to be sitting there with an ace. Like I know that the like a queen is like the essential nuts at that point, but it's just I don't even think you've got a huge amount. We do have
Wait, what?
five. Like, what was that?
No, I was gonna say, what sizing did he bet there on the turn? No, I didn't see.
Do you want me to
But
go
yeah,
back?
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Is this something that you ever did when you were battling these guys very regularly? Like because every time I do one of these commentaries, I did one with Parker, aka Tonka P, a few weeks ago, and I was just like, it feels like there's a lot of information to learn watching these final tables. And I was wondering, like, do these players that are playing in them all of the time, like, do they go and study them all the time, or is that just not a thing and most people just don't care?
I mean, I do it, but I doubt a lot of people do it because they wouldn't play as shit. So.
Giraffe, honestly, you're a spectacular
Uh,
human being. I just think you're class. I think you're
Nah, I'm
deadly.
joking, but I don't think they do. I think nowadays.
You don't get to say I'm
Yeah,
joking when it was so
I
sincere.
know, I know.
This seems pretty standard that I would be all in with ace nine, but maybe you'd have other thoughts. Like I just against a chip leader, I think we get to go pretty ham, but they do flat
Yeah,
call.
Jam is by far the best play here. I mean, ace nine is kind of like in the middle one,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
I think you
Like if
should
you have ace
always
deuce, deuce,
jam.
ace four, ace five, like
Yeah,
they're always
yeah,
shoving, right? Yeah.
yeah. So maybe like some of the time you can call it ace eight, ace nine, ace 10 kind of thing, kind of
So
hands.
for the people that don't understand that concept of why you would shove the worst ones, do you want to explain it to them?
Uh, Not really, no.
Okay. Well, look, I'll give you a small like concept that it's not that difficult. Basically, the reason why we will enjoy shoving lower down is because we are going to make more hands that we are behind fold. Whereas like when we start shoving ace nine, ace eight, they're just going to start folding. Obviously, ace seven and worse, and like they might start to call like with ace 10, ace jack, and like yeah, that's just like a very small breakdown. But like sometimes when you say to people you should shove the worse hands and not the better hands, it can be quite difficult to understand why.
So he raised the flop, which I mean, I don't like, but it's not the worst because of what we said. He doesn't really have like the low aces. He doesn't have the high aces.
I would
So
pure raise the flop, so that's obviously
yeah, yeah. Well, the
I
the thing the thing with just calling the flop is kind of an ICM thing because KZ is just supposed to blast it off like every single time, and then you can
mm,
just call down with your ace
yeah.
instead of raising. But it's definitely a good play without ICM to just raise the flop there for sure.
So so like obviously like I understand why you're saying that because like we are pre-capped and like they're going to be super wide, so when we have a good hand it's nice to protect your range, but also because like we shouldn't be raised getting in too much. But like how wide are you going to bluff catch there? Because obviously one thing you were saying was that like you're not incentivized to bluff catch very often, especially with this stack setup.
Yeah, that's why you don't raise like the best hands on the flop, so you can just bluff catch them.
Okay.
Uh, but of
Okay.
course, it still depends because like I mean, it was like a jack of diamonds turn. So on that kind of run out, if he keeps betting, you probably have to fold on the river, just
Yeah.
because you get to the river with, like a lot of better hands because you're also not raising all the flush draws or
Yeah.
almost none of them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things. But that also means that he should be careful with bluffing if you have all the flush draws, if you still have some aces. So it just prevents him from being able to just blast it off sometimes, right? So
Yeah.
it's just kind of a different way to build your range based on like your preflop range plus the way you can play the river,
Yeah.
basically.
That's interesting for sure. Because, like I said, I would pure raise that one. And obviously, I just like hearing your thought process. So thanks for letting us in. Appreciate it. Would you ever use these sort of hand class in a stack situation as a re-raise? Because I would say that Kowalski has been pretty active. Like any chance they've had when KZH has been out of the pot, or a lot of the time when they're in a small blind, they were being pretty active. Would you ever use hands like Queen Nine off here, just as 3-bet folds, versus the button
Um,
open, or would you want to use more like like King Six, King
I
Seven,
mean,
Queen?
theoretically, you definitely need an ace or a king, uh, but you are down to like 30 big, so you can actually jam a lot of those.
Yeah,
So yeah, maybe you could use Queen Nine. I mean, I don't think it's like standard, but like you
yeah,
mentioned, if he is completely out of line, and also if he's not four betting, like four bet jamming, like with ace five or something, then you can probably get away with it.
yeah.
Uh,
I think like I don't again Queen Nine versus button opens like might not be that like I feel like you're going to use more like 7x and 6x. But what I find on final tables is that chip leaders are very easily able to implement raising a lot, but I don't think they're very good at implementing like
yeah.
4-bet shoves. So like I probably use bluffs out of big blind a little bit too wide, just because like like if you break it down, like what I'm 3-bet calling, like it'll just be like this very very small percentage of hands, and like the amount that I'm 3-betting is just not going to add up. But I don't think it matters. I think people can watch my stream and they can see me 3-bet them with king 5 off, and then like the next hand falls around and I 3-bet them again, and like the top players will obviously start pulling the trigger, and they're like, fuck this guy. But like for the most part, like the average player like is not going to just rip it in the way they should, because they need to start ripping it in super aggressively against you, and it's really tough to do.
Well, that's one of, I would say, part of my strategy too. Not necessarily from the big blind too much, because I do like jamming even up to 30 bigs, like most of my
Yeah,
range. Um, so I don't really have like a lot of three bet folds to balance out my aces or whatever. So, but like in position or from a small blind, uh, it's the best thing to do is to, the guy, the chip leader that is normally in nit is like opening a lot because he's chip leader, and then you just three bet him every hand, and then the guy behind is so incentivized to just fold, right? Because there's a chance that you bust. So the guy
yeah,
behind has to play super tight, and then if the chip leader is opening like king deuce offsuit, and you're like three betting him every hand, like even if he starts jamming a little bit wider,
it's not going to be
or
wide enough.
even yeah, or calling a little bit, which is still bad in my opinion. Um, like if he has like a big calling range, it doesn't really matter. So that's why like I completely agree with you. Is it's the best like the best spot is to just three bet the chip leader every single time.
It's obviously a little bit different for me and you. Like, I mean, you play. I don't know. Like, when you're playing a series, do you play like how low down do you reg? Like, because obviously you've got a lot of high buy-ins, and when you said you play 6 tables, like, is that your sweet spot, or is that like closing down your max? Like during the series, are you like getting up to 10 tables at all, or like is it just that's not happening?
I mean, at the start of a session, yeah, it's definitely more, but I'm really bad at multi-tabling. So I try not to play too much, and then of course, I mean, also like I don't mind playing like even a $55 tournament or a 109 or something like that. But the problem is when you're playing a 10K, it's just like stupid,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
play like a
yeah, yeah.
bunch of 109s.
You're just
I wish
start
I could,
maining.
but yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
just there's no, it's negative EV, so I don't really do it. But yeah, I do enjoy like playing low for sure. Uh, yeah, but yeah, I definitely don't play too many tails. I'm really bad at it.
Interesting. I honestly, for some reason, thought you played loads of tables. Like
I
I thought
used
you were
to, but
okay.
I like it's different, because if you play low stakes, there's so much money in late stage tournaments that like you can just kind of play your C game, right?
Yeah,
like the whole tournament. And okay, your big blind per 100 is not as good, but once you start paying attention, you can actually like really make a lot of money. So there's still like a big incentive to just play a massive amount of tables,
Yeah, and then
even
just
if you're bad
don't
at
worry, don't
multi-table.
worry. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I actually like when I. No, this could be big trouble for Kowalski.
So ace jack, I mean, I would either three bet fold or just jam pre-flop.
I would
One of the
shove.
two.
So most of
Yeah.
the time I would shove here versus chip lead.
Hmm. Yeah.
But they've got away with it. But they're not going to be able to get away from this hand. I don't see a world in which they can get away from this hand versus two bets. Obviously, it depends how big KZH goes in the river, but like it's a pretty strong hand you got.
Yeah. This river is a
It.
little bit, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a little bit tricky.
Doesn't
It's
change a
actually
huge amount.
it's actually kind of like a funny spot because if KZ bets like half pot, I think ace jack is a jam because you block jack 10 and you can wrap jack 10, and then also, well, maybe you can't wrap all the jack 10s because
It's
of
very
the
tough. It's
turn.
very tough. It's
Yeah,
tough for you. It's tough for you to have Jack 10 versus like 80% on the turn,
but
except for
he
one
he can bet
combo.
like king queen when he bets this sizing. He's not wrapping anything. He should bluff with like queen 10 and queen jack, and you with the ace jack you block the bluffs. You could have jack 10, but it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I think it's a fold, but I mean, it wouldn't be the worst call.
I don't
Yeah,
know, dude.
don't
I think
call
it's. I
don't
think.
call pre-flop. Just don't call pre-flop.
I think. I think. I think I'd struggle to fold personally.
I mean, it's a check flop, right? So there's definitely a good reason to call on the river, just because he gets to the river with like a lot more bullshit. But the sizing is not bluff sizing. I think if he goes all in, I would call more. If he, like overbets 150, yeah, I would call.
I feel like Kowalski has had some pretty tough spots on the final table, and for the most part has made the right decision. But yeah, I would have struggled to fold there.
This one you can raise call ace queen, but it's still fine.
As long as you're not shoving the king and the king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just struggle when they check the flop. But like when they check the flop, like they do, obviously lose a lot of their absolute garbage because the most of it's just going to bet on king nine tray.
Yeah.
And their range just becomes condensed a lot more ace x on the turn. And when they bet that size on the river, they're just not betting a worse hand for value ever. Obviously, that goes without saying.
Yeah.
But impressive.
Okay. Big sizing this board. I mean, it's fine, I guess. I don't know. The problem is because of ICM, your opening range is kind of you know,
It's a lot tighter than
no,
normal.
yeah. So you don't need, like we mentioned it before, you don't really need to use big sizes in ICM. You can just bet small. Or what actually is another part of my strategy is check back this flop. Just check back this flop with like a lot of hands, including kings. So aces, kings, sets, maybe like ace 10 even, uh, some flush draws. So like the king, queen of spades, you can also check back. And then that way you protect your ace x kind of range instead of like betting on the flop, because with your stack he can just jam and you're kind of in a
Yeah,
really tough spot with a lot of hands. So that's why you should check back a little bit.
that's pretty
And
cool.
also include like really strong hands there.
From what I actually would not have been surprised to see Spassy raise this flop given what I've seen so far. But those are like the call.
Yeah.
Kowalski with like this exact combo might be tempted to bet, but it's not the most enjoyable spot to double barrel, given how like kind of snug that Spassy's been playing in most spots.
Yeah. Let's see what sizing he goes here, because the king is also interesting. I think on the king he has to go. He can still. Oh, he just gives up with 4 high.
So
I mean, yeah.
the one thing that they might feel is that Kowalski's still gonna check back a very reasonable amount of aces on that turn.
Yeah.
So bluffing there, it's kind of awkward because like you can't bet small.
Well, you can actually bet small to just target like queen high and like small pairs, right? Because yeah,
Which
I
like
think yeah.
you'd introduce a block with a lot of your ace X then.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
like the
no,
weaker
that's
ones,
fair.
and
I probably don't find that enough.
yeah, and then also have like just jam as well on the river and just rep a 10 or straight or whatever.
Yeah, so that's where I'd be leaning a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
maybe I just make. Then it gets expensive though because you shove in the queen jack and you shove in the kings and shove in the
Yeah, I
okay.
mean, but I feel like when you get to a little bit 4 high and you don't really like, I mean, and the guy checks back on the turn, even though it's a 10, he could still bet like some ace X to just check back as well. So, I mean, I think you have to just bluff there. Otherwise, you don't have any bluffs.
Yeah,
Because he might just raise a lot of flush draws as well on the flop. So, 4
that's,
high might as well bluff it.
yeah. I mean, I'd struggle to ever check down 4 high. Like I just
Yeah, yeah.
I feel physically ill.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Yeah, it's very hard. Sometimes you like the river is so bad
Yeah,
that
you're meant
you
to.
you're almost like you have to, but you still don't do it, and you still like throw out like a min bet or just go for an overbet jam,
No,
something
that
like
happens to
that.
me all the
Yeah.
time when I get counterfeited. When I've got pairs and get counterfeited, and there's
Oh
no way I
yeah,
can rep a full house. But I'm like, well, I'm not checking my 5 high, so
yeah.
I guess I'm repping my full house.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
even though
yeah.
it makes no sense, and then I run the hand, and it's like checking all the time, and I'm like, oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
It's interesting for on the nuts, 11 big blinds, queen 10 suited, shortest stack I would call. We do see the
yeah,
call. It's jack 9 versus queen 10, open ended straight draw. And the nuts has ran very well in the all in so far.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Still 5 players left. How'd your heads up game? Because myself and Parker didn't do the heads up part of the video the last time, but I'm gonna play it through. It's not this final table. It's not too long, so
Yeah,
uh,
no, I mean, I'm definitely not an expert, but I did get a lot better uh lately. I would say like last 2 years or something. Before that, I just never cared because
yeah.
everybody sucked because it's MTTs. Like
That's
nobody
what
nobody
everyone
knows what's
always
going
said.
on.
It's like I'm
Yeah,
terrible at heads up, but I'm okay for an MTT reg. So let's go.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I think I was like really bad, but now I'm okay. I would say because it's just it's kind of like the same logic than like same as kind of button versus big blind, but a little bit different because it's wider range and shit like that. But it's kind of the same logic. So
I'm not sure about that. I'm not
ah
100% sure about that.
okay, we'll
Like
see, we'll see.
I'm just not
Yeah.
100% sure. That's like it's
No,
anyway.
no,
We do
yeah,
see an all in.
yeah,
And when I say 100% sure, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just I don't know, right? Like
yeah.
we
I
do
mean,
see
yeah,
the all
yeah,
in. We do see the exit. It is KZH accumulating a lot of chips, and honestly, this is a pretty ideal situation for KZH. I think Spazzy has been the least aggressive so far, and now with the shortest stack, it means Amadi and I'm the Nuts are kind of handcuffed given how close their stacks are as well. So like we might see KZH getting very, very
yeah.
naughty. I'm a bit surprised not to see them attempt to like raise fold that queen tree off in the last hand. Like that's what I would just do. I know they're the short stack, but because they've been so tight, I just attack that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I think it's a really good spot for him for sure. Because I'm the Nuts is, I mean, he's a good player, but he's very uh, somewhat tight. I would say like he's not gonna punt it off, and then the other guy is not gonna. Spacey is also kind of tight. Amadi, Amadi has some. He's a very good player, but he has like he's also a little bit on the tighter side.
Oh really?
So
I thought like anytime I play, maybe I
no,
just
I mean,
sample size.
he
But
he. I mean,
Amadi feels like I feel like Amadi comes out like not comes after me, but like I feel like when there's not that many players that make my life like super uncomfortable all the time, and Amadi like feels that way.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not
I mean,
that's not when I say uncomfortable. I don't mean like there's loads of people that are just obviously
yeah,
way better than me. Man, I would I know like the way you protect your range is not often top two, but like given like this stack setup, like I wouldn't dream of raising top two against KZH here. Like I'd just be calling and like knock
Yeah.
yourself out. Like it's Queen four deuce. We don't have a lot of hands that want to really raise in the first place, given that we should probably shove a lot of them pre-flop. Versus KZH, like I would always call. Like let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Um, I mean, it's even less because of ICM. Like you're just not supposed to raise here. So yeah, just call. Just let the guy bluff. Interesting sizing here. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fine, of course.
Yeah, I'll go slightly smaller. I don't know how you feel. Like when it goes bet
Yeah.
check raise, like
I like the min bet because they never have anything. So
yeah, that's what I mean. Like you just when people so basically when people check raise and check turns, the vast majority of people um will really struggle to protect their range anyway there. And a lot of the time you're not incentivized because like once you check raise with a strong hand, like you probably want to start putting chips in, continue to put chips in. So when people check raise you and then they check the turn, you get the bet really, really small a lot of the time.
yeah, I think that's actually gonna shift a little bit where there's gonna be a lot of like double check raises in the future because
I
it's
can't
kind of
I
like
just
such an obvious spot.
I
uh,
how do you feel about calling this 7-8?
I think it's absolutely fucking terrible.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I would never do it. So I just love I'm like being quite political and I'm just like, so how do you feel?
Uh,
This is maybe a little bit on the wide side, and you're like, fucking awful. I love it, mate. This is
also the queen jack call I also don't like. It's just a jam.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
100%. I
but yeah,
feel it's from I don't know. Maybe you could correct me, but like from what I've seen of this final table, it feels like Spazzy might just be playing like for fun and enjoying
yeah,
themselves. And so I'm
I
not
think
gonna
so. Yeah,
criticize them. Like
yeah,
but in general, chip leader, Queen Jack suited, it's just a very clean
yeah.
shove. But I would imagine KZH gets away from this hand quite comfortably on this turn. I don't know how you're feeling about that. Like it's obviously top pair, but I would prefer call this turn with 10x with a spade than this hand. I even like ace queen, ace jack with a spade, I prefer call than this hand.
What happened on the flop? Was it check call or bet call?
Check call.
Check call. Uh, kind of close, I'd say. I mean, it's probably fold just because of his range.
That's
Like,
what I mean, right? I don't mean
yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah. Like his range is just so. Oh, this it's gonna be interesting.
spicy. I think we see raise, we see all in, we see call. Like I don't think.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Okay, so he's definitely not a professional, but I
it's
mean,
actually
we didn't really notice it from the start.
yeah,
So
yeah,
he's probably not that bad, right? Because sometimes you know from the first hand that the guy is like, yeah, not for real, but yeah, he plays okay.
I don't think we
Just
can fold ace
yeah,
king here. Like obviously you might
no.
feel like they're gonna have a lot of pairs, but like they could easily just have like the ace jack suited or the ace queen, given they've had a few open shoves so far. So
I mean, I think the guy just never has aces and kings, so I just
wow,
snap call. I mean, if the guy never has aces and kings, like it's more likely that he has ace queen than
yeah,
queens, just based on like combos. So I would just never fold. No, I would snap call and
yeah,
dance.
yeah. I thought it was a kind of fake tank. I didn't expect to see a fold there at all.
Yeah, like even in ICM, I mean, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't really need to go after this guy because it's kind of good if he stays in the tournament. But if he wins the flip, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean like
Yeah,
your
pretty
chip
good.
lead, so or very close to it anyway.
Yeah. So some more limping. I mean, this one is fine because it's 7 high, but
Yeah, I would just
flop at the turn.
I would just probably be raising maybe slightly too wide in these situations against a player who I don't think is going to fight back a lot. Like I basically the way I would play this spot is I would raise it with any two cards that were like the bottom of like the really awful stuff, and like if they start shoving on me or giving me any resistance, then I'm like, all right, well
Mhm.
we're not doing this anymore. But
Yeah.
until they give me a reason to not um do it, like I'm just gonna raise and see what happens.
Yeah,
It's
I
pretty it's
agree.
pretty sick that the seven plays as a kicker there.
Yeah.
Maddie
Mm.
not going to be able to open queen eight. It'd be pretty crazy to me, given that the chip leader is on the button. Just pretty wide open on the final table in general. Pretty bad.
I mean, this is a fold, but
Yeah, it's very dicey. It is I would describe it as an ICM clusterfuck for the three stacks all at the exact same stack right now, because payout jumps are pretty massive, right? Like every player right now is guaranteed 305k, but like if you outlast the two stacks with 25 big blinds, or sorry, with 20 big blinds, like you're getting extra $200,000. Like it's $500,000 per second. It's a 100k payout jump almost right now. Like it's pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're just incentivized to fold
Yeah.
everything. So it's a easy jam.
I never do this stuff where, like, I don't know, like I know there's some situations where it might be right, but like it's not like their payouts are super flat. Like I'm always like, when I see people do it, I'm like, I don't know, like it's an MTT and it's so
Just
top
a bunch
heavy.
of it's just a bunch of bullshit, man. Like there's a couple spots where it makes sense to
Yeah,
put in like half
I
your
know.
stack and
I
then
know. Like
fold, but
if you shove under the gun +1 versus like a player that has like a lot of chips, and then there's like a bunch of short stacks, maybe like five people end up all in. You're like, ah, well now I fold. But like in that
yeah,
situation, like I just don't think you're ever folding nines.
yeah. So here, so he keeps limping. I mean, again, like I just think he just min raise or whatever and just see bet and make a little bit more
Yeah,
uh money. Also, this one I think I would open. I would just open 100%. I mean, if you look at the solvers, they don't actually want to open 100% because if you fold, these guys actually bust each other like pretty like a lot.
frequently. Yeah,
Yeah, but I would still open because they're not gonna do anything.
yeah.
Okay, so
I think that
he does the raise here, which I think is good, but it's the first one we see, I think. The whole file table. Uh, like I literally do every hand, every single hand. If they limp into me, I just raise every single hand. I think it's a good strategy. It's the best strategy.
yeah. So I would raise a lot, but I like at certain stack depths, like at this stack depth, like where the two players are like 16, 17 big blinds, or 16 and 20 or whatever, like I would check the middle part of the deck. Like I would check a
Hmm.
lot of 9, 10, Jack 10, Queen 10 kind of region. But like if someone, maybe not against Spazzy, but like if I was playing against you, like I wouldn't dream of raising like Queen 10 if you limped off 20 bigs. I just wouldn't, because just play
But yeah,
inefficient,
I mean,
dominating a lot of hands, and don't risk
against,
raise folding
against
it.
yeah, yeah, against me, you shouldn't do it too much because I actually don't limp a lot, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But if
yeah.
a guy is limping everything, you should just raise everything, man. Like
Yeah,
they,
no,
they
that's what I'm
can't.
saying. Like, if I was playing this final table and like Spazzy was limping into me every time, like then I'd just like, all
Yeah.
right, well, I'll just raise fold, because like they're only gonna shove like fucking less than 10%. So like, let's do that. Yeah, it's fine. Let's go.
Okay, big bet turn. Interesting. I mean, good combo to do this with. Uh, KZ should just call. I mean,
So the reason why like Amadi will feel that he can bet like big a lot here is that like KZH has no pairs, big pairs, right? And Amadi's
even
gonna
small.
want to, yeah, just no pairs, full stop, right?
Yeah.
So, um, Amadi's going to still have all of the overpairs, but does wave the white flag. And honestly, I think it's pretty reasonable um, to wave the white flag. I know like you've got 7 high, but you bet 3/4 pot on the turn. Like I think you're going to struggle to get a huge amount of folds. Or would you find a bluff? Like I wouldn't find it there personally.
The king is interesting because he's not gonna bet a king big on the turn, so he can't really rep it anymore. I think that's why he gave up. I think if the
Yeah,
river is like a 10 or something or whatever, like 10 or a jack, I think he will go for it because that's like part of his bluffing range. So then he can rep it a little bit
yeah.
more.
And
So yeah.
KZH is going to have like a lot of king high flush draws there, and like just maybe
Yeah.
like not getting, maybe just getting sticky with king highs in general. So like even though they're Amadi's struggling to rep the hands, it's also like you're going to start shoving into a lot of strong hands too.
So here I would always call because you cover with the 8-5, even though Amadi's range is very, very strong. I mean, he has king jack.
Would you start to fold like 8 deuce suited? Because like I would fold like them, even though we cover. Like I would fold like the very bottom of
Yeah,
the
I
suited
think.
stuff.
Well, I mean, the low suited stuff is actually pretty good. It's more like you should start folding like a lot of king X,
Yeah,
queen
like king
X
five, king six, king
stuff.
seven, they're all
Yeah,
going in the bin. Yeah, yeah. No, I'm just talking about the suited hands though. Like I
I
would.
mean,
Would you?
you could definitely fold like 8 deuce, 8-3. I think suited. Yeah, it wouldn't
Okay.
be too bad. Yeah, I don't know how wide you can call here. It really depends on Amadi as well.
Do you think this is a
Wait,
situation that you touched on earlier on, where Mahdi
I think,
needs to be careful with how much he wants to bet
yeah.
this turn because of the equity that he has now.
Well, what happened on the flop? So he just c-bet and then I'm the nuts just called.
Yeah, so Mahdi bet a quarter pot, 300k
Yeah, so
into.
I'm the nuts should just jam every single time on the flop because I mean Amadi has to fold at 9 if he jams. So unless he like checks a lot on the flop, I don't know. Like this just again same thing. He's not even gonna bluff here. He's gonna check. I mean, he could wrap an ace. I mean, he has a lot of aces in his range, but he's not gonna bet all of them on the flop actually, so he shouldn't bluff. Just showdown. Half ball. Terrible.
Yeah, so the hands that
Like
he's
so
targeting to fold at this point, like I'm the nuts doesn't have a lot of. That was a very quick shove. I'm the nuts doesn't
yeah.
have much 2x pre-flop. 10x should all be all in on the flop. You're ahead of queen jack, but that's probably all in on the flop as well. Yeah, I'm just trying to see like what's he really trying to kind of make fold on the river.
Well, you also have to think about his value range there, and it's
Yeah,
actually pretty narrow.
yeah,
And when you bet half pot, it's even more narrow because you're gonna have a jamming range, I think, with 2 pair or flushes or whatever. So he's repping like ace jack, ace queen, and I'm not even sure he's gonna play those hands ever like this. So he's just not repping anything, just trying
do you do
to
any
make him fold a 9 or something. Yeah.
limping on final tables?
I used to, because people don't isolate enough, so you can just limp like hands like
When I
this
say
or
limping, yeah, this yeah, I'm talking about this kind of hand. I'm
yeah,
not talking about blind
yeah,
versus blind. We've kind of discussed that. I'm just wondering
yeah,
if you
yeah,
do it because like BBC tells me not to do it, but I
yeah,
do
yeah.
find it quite efficient in spots like this where
At low stakes, it's definitely a thing where you can get away with it because if you look at how people should react to a limp, specifically like the button, if he has a little bit of chips, is just go like 5x every single time, or at least, or like even have like 2 different kind of isolation ranges with like 40% of hands, and it just never happens. So what you can do is actually open raise like aces, kings, ace, king, because you're actually going to get 3-bet wider than you're going to get isolated, and you can just
okay,
limp like kind of the middle part of your range. And then if people start like actually playing back at you, you can just adjust or stop limping, right? Because like limping is very exploitative. I don't think in GTO ICM there's ever going to be limping. Maybe from the button a little bit, but
yeah,
uh, yeah,
that's pretty much what Jordan,
yeah, yeah.
BBC was
You
saying
can
to me and
do it
explained.
for fun, because
If you just
it's
want to
kind of
enjoy
fun.
yourself,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Because the fun part is if you do it, other people start doing it too, and then they have no idea what they're doing. So like if you
yeah.
start limping, then the other guy is going to start limping, and then you can actually isolate them every single hand, and they have no idea what's going on. So it's kind of fun, but yeah, it's not. I don't think it's GTO, but it doesn't matter. Also, like this, I mean, this one 10-6. I don't think. I don't know.
I would raise.
Yeah,
I would just raise. I'm not sure
yeah,
if you need. I could be wrong. Like I could definitely be wrong with what I'm about to say, but I'm not as sure if you need to. I know like as stacks get shallower and big blinds are shorter, like you need to like make it more
bigger.
expensive in
No,
chip EV, but not in ICM.
ICM.
Would
No,
be my wow. He
ICM you can
shows.
always
Would you
raise.
put your 4 big blinds in here? Would you, my A2s? I don't know. I wouldn't. But
No, because I think like he's actually gonna call wider than he should, because he should actually just fold a lot because he doesn't mind having you in the tournament.
yeah, yeah.
So he's not really incentivized to call a lot. He's gonna call everything, so I wouldn't jam an 8. I would just fold again. But I mean,
Obviously,
it's whatever.
we still have a bit to go here with three-handed play. But is there anything else going on that in the giraffe life? Like, I guess we're about to see an all in here. Probably a ace king versus ace jack.
Oh, not really. No, not really. Like I'm not really doing anything. I'm just chilling on Twitter, reading stuff, watching movies.
Do you get riled up by Twitter? Because like I've seen you get involved, and like, is it coming from a place of wanting to educate people and get them to be better, or are you are you angry? Like, are you at home and you're like, fuck this, and you're like, I'm telling people how it is? Like, where does that come from? Like, because for those who don't know, like Giraffe can battle the odd time. Like, if Giraffe sees something he's not happy about, like he'll get into the replies and let people know how he's feeling.
Well, I do it a lot less now because there's not really an upside.
Yeah,
I mean, sometimes there is because I think sometimes like a guy like a good guy has like some kind of wrong thought or he expresses himself like in a wrong way
yeah,
and he doesn't mean it like this. And then I feel like I can just say, hey man, maybe read this or look at this or talk to these people or whatever, just to educate them a little bit, right? So they
yeah,
don't say something racist or stupid or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
So I still don't mind doing that, but like I mean,
I've definitely been guilty of it. Like, I try not to upset people on Twitter. I used to call people out a little bit more, like more into like the Twitch poker world. Like, if I see one of the streamers saying something, I'm
yeah,
like, that
me
is
too, me too.
fucking stupid. Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? But the tone gets very lost on Twitter, and it gets quite like heightened with tension very quickly. So I've kind of like stepped back from doing it, but I've definitely been in the guy where like I've said something and I've definitely not meant to upset anyone or like cause any offense, and like someone. Not necessarily you. I'm not sure if you've ever reached out to me, but like some people will be reaching out to me like, "Look, dude, the way you're saying that, like, it's gonna be taken like this," and I'm like, oh, "Okay." And I when people say it in that way, like, I know that they're coming from a good place. I'm like,
Yeah.
messing up a
So
little
I
bit.
mean, so I do that, but I have like so like it could be like the same kind of thing being said, but by a different guy. But I lose my shit because the guy is a scammer or the guy is uh like just a scumbag, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But he's like saying the same kind of thing as like the first guy, but the first guy, is just wrong or has like a wrong assumption or like you said, he's like it's misunderstood.
It's not
Then the other guy,
malicious.
yeah, the other guy
Where
is like a pure scumbag, and then I have a hard time,
letting
like
that
not
go.
calling these people out. But I do it less now. I just try and go after like people. I still do it though, because like I mean, there's so much. I mean, there's some people that are like have been outed as scumbags. So sometimes you don't know, right? Sometimes like you hear some stuff or whatever and you don't know. But in poker there's this thing where if it's long enough ago, people seem to forget.
Yeah,
And I mean
you do get a lot of free
it's
passes in the poker world. In
yeah,
well,
yeah.
the thing about it is like it's kind of governed by us, right? Like
Yeah, exactly,
there's
exactly.
some
So
things that are allowed and
yeah,
some things aren't allowed, and some
yeah,
things that are more frowned upon. But if you do something wrong, as time elapses, people will generally move on. And like sometimes the things that people get forgiven for are just not some things that should be forgotten. Especially when those same people then become the white knights and the high and mighty, and like they're talking down to people. It's like, what are you talking about? Like that's what I struggle with. Like when I see
yeah, yeah.
people that have done these things that like are very much frowned upon in the community, and then like they're like the ones that are giving people life lessons and giving out. I'm just like, ugh. But I don't. I
Yeah.
just I choose the peaceful life. And I know sometimes that's the incorrect thing to do. Like I know, like if there's gonna be
For
like
me, I feel like there's also a thing where the poker world is very bro heavy, but I think it is better than other bro heavy kind of environments because I think like a lot of people who are successful or well known are actually like good guys. Like they're not
what
like sexist pigs and shit like that.
are you talking about it, particularly in the poker world right now?
Yeah, yeah. So like, yeah, compared to like other industries where actually the scumbags actually, are like the big guys, right?
Yeah,
So I feel like when some, some like random guy who's, selling some shit, right, starts doing like all this sexist stuff or, anti-gay shit or something like that, I just lose my mind, man. Like, because I feel like there's no there should be no acceptance. Like we should just ban them. Like we should mock them. We should just say, okay, if you don't like completely apologize and
yeah,
or like your whole kind of thing, like I'm just gonna shit on you every chance I get, and you're not gonna sell anything. because like a
Yeah.
lot of people try to sell stuff, and I think it's fine, right? Like I don't care if people sell like coaching shit or
Hmm.
whatever or on Twitch or whatever, something like that. I think it's completely fine. But if you're a scumbag, you better
Yeah,
not
yeah.
sell stuff because I don't
You're fighting the good fight. Like you're trying to not waste your time on stuff that's like inconsequential, and you're just trying to like save it for when it actually matters, right? Like, that's
yeah,
what it sounds
because
like.
the other thing is, right, I feel like if we do it now, what's going to happen is there's going to be more women, or like the poker world is just going to become more diverse just because we don't scare them away, and then I don't have to call people out anymore because nobody's going to dare say something stupid because half the poker world is women. Well, not half, but like there's like a
Yeah, I know.
bigger,
Yeah, yeah. A much
so
larger percentage.
yeah, so I feel like it's gonna automatically get better anyway. But I think at the moment it's still still dicey, and we shouldn't allow people to get away with that kind of stuff
This is
ever, basically.
yeah. I mean, I think it's good that like I'm guilty of like oh wow, sorry to cut across, but we are seeing a
Yeah.
massive cooler here, and wouldn't be surprised to see an all in on this turn, given what we've seen so far.
I
The
mean,
raise on
the only way he
well,
gets away with it is like check check, and then the river is like a diamond or something.
I wouldn't normally want to check shove a flush on this turn, but I would probably check shove versus spades, considering how snug they've played and the fact that they raised this flop. Like I would not have guessed that they would raise a hand like this. So I think they're gonna have a lot of like good king X and um, two pairs that might look to potentially check back the river, given that they've gone with the smaller size. So I actually like the shove. I don't know how you feel about that, but that's
I like it too specific, not necessarily about his value range, but the thing is, I think on this turn he's gonna be bluffing with like high diamonds,
yeah.
and you actually don't mind if he folds those if you jam. So I think that's a good reason to jam there.
All right, let's see how good the giraffe ganger heads up game is. I don't know how much we're gonna see. It's pretty short. It's like
Yeah,
24 big blinds. I'm the nuts versus KZH.
yeah.
What I know you went on an absolute tear. I feel like was it 2021 when you went on a tear and you're just winning everything. Would that be fair to say?
I had like a period where I won like a couple in a row, which was we had the EPT things, right? And so I won two
Yeah,
EPTs, and then
you're
I
just
did some on other sites as well. So yeah, yeah. But that was like in like 3 months, because before that I had like a bad year. But then like poker, right? It's
yeah,
always
yeah. There's ups and downs, and that's
yeah,
just how it
yeah,
is.
yeah,
And what
yeah,
was
yeah.
what was the highlight? Do you remember? Like, or do you know what your biggest score was in that period?
I think it was like on another side, their main kind of big tournament. I think I won that for like three something, or like I no I chopped the 25K on GG. Yeah,
I asked you, did you play 25Ks and
yeah, yeah,
you could barely remember, and you're there chopping them. All right, mate.
yeah, 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 yeah,
Must be nice. Do you
yeah.
think would you ever use Ace Three suited as a limp shove, or are you happy to slide it there into limp call at this stacked up? Because I'd be kind of tempted to limp shove it sometimes for sure.
I mean, the thing with this is like you can just have ranges and shit like charts, because I have no idea, man. I was just joking. I still have no idea how to play heads up, man. No, I
Okay.
think I think I would probably limb jam, yeah, or just how deep is it? Yeah, limb jam seems reasonable, yeah.
I
Suited
guess it
ace,
depends, like
okay,
how,
yeah.
like I would imagine. Look, my guess would be that like I'm the nuts is limp shove in when they're offsuit. Just like that's a strategy that you'd see a lot of people implement. But guess at what he thinks of KZH is isolating. But I think like it's a spot where you actually get it in ahead a lot. Like if KZH is isolating with a lot of the broadways and stuff, and then they're gonna have to
Hmm.
call it off. Like so,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, so he keeps limping. Uh, like I wouldn't limp too much once it goes over like 25, because
yeah,
I don't think people are super jam happy with like 30 big blinds, which again, if you look at, GTO, there's a lot of jamming. Um, but so I would just open a little bit more than normal. But I know there's a lot of limping, and that's, yeah, boring, boring.
yeah. It's not the most fun to watch.
Uh,
Hopefully, it won't.
nah, it's okay. Let's see.
I mean, pretty standard stuff like to limp. Once you limp, you're not going to be folding queen three suited, but like there's nothing you can do on a
Yeah.
king 6-4. You just got to fold.
By the way, when did you move back to Ireland?
I moved back to Ireland in July, I'm going to say. So I've been home
Oh.
for a little bit over 6 months. I'm just happy to be home. I just do. I didn't mind it. Like I like Malta and I didn't mind being in Malta, but once the freedom of travel basically got stolen from us and was gone, like it was
Mhm.
it was a bit crap for 2 years. Like
Yeah.
I'm an only child as well, so like I just like being around and seeing my mom and stuff more. And I would always come home regularly prior to that. Like there would never be like a probably even like a 3 month period where I wouldn't be home, right? Like I would come home a lot, and that was fine. But once I couldn't, I didn't like it. Are you in Belgium? Like, are you still?
No, no, I'm not in Belgium. I'm
No.
somewhere else. But yeah, in Europe. I'm in Europe.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'd raise this king four. I'd
Yeah.
just
Me
whack it
too.
up. Let's go. Let's put some
Yeah.
chips in the middle. I feel like for the most part, I haven't disagreed with Giraf too much, which I always like. And like I'm not like the kind of person that will sit here and be like, oh, that's what I do when I hear you saying it, because I don't think I'll improve then because you won't explain to me why you would do it the other way. Like I'm always happy to just like look stupid. Like there's some situations where like we definitely I said something, you're like, no, I would never do that on the final table, and like that opens my eyes to things. But
Yeah.
it's nice to I guess, do you know what the thing that you'd said that like you did say that like not many regs or not many people are doing it, but they're not flatting at all on final tables. Like that's
Mhm.
definitely
Yeah.
that's not how I play the game.
Yeah. 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 We should definitely look into it.
Yeah, no,
So
I
you can.
will. When I hear it, like even if I don't start implementing it 100%, like when I hear
Yeah.
anyone who I respect and who is clearly better than me at the game, like I love to then find out what's going on, right?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the same concept where you just don't get to bluff as much and also not fall down if you are covered. And when you cover people, you just want to three bet because they can't call three bets, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how it works. And like there's always spots where you can call a little bit, but I just simplify it and just never call, except with like deuces to eights or deuces to nines sometimes, just to set mine, like pure set mining, like nothing else.
So
Uh,
if you see a steady looking board, any 4, 6, 8 boards, you go running against Giraffe if he starts putting any chips
yeah,
in. I'll tell you that much.
yeah. That's true. That's true. Definitely. But the thing
Nah,
is, yeah. I mean, I just never call, so it's never gonna happen. So yeah. But the thing is, you can actually get away with three betting like less than 2.5 as well in position, which is
when you say
like old.
2.5, you mean size wise, like
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah,
somebody opens like min raise, and you go like 4.25.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And they and like again, if you look at it, uh, maybe in solver world, the call like is not really good. Like if somebody calls you, even when it's like a pretty hand, they shouldn't really do it because you're uncapped, and then when they call, they're capped except maybe aces sometimes, and it really fucks up their range a lot. So they should just fold or click it, which is also fun, but nobody does it yet. I think it's gonna happen a lot more. It's gonna be like
It's going to come in from
oh,
the top, and then it'll creep down.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do
But
you
it's gonna be
remember
like a
back in
lot
the
of
day?
clicking. Yeah.
Do you remember back in the day when you get into those click wars? Were you around for that?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
man,
yeah.
I love the click wars.
Yeah. I was very good at clicking.
It basically was a game of chicken. It was like I'm
Yeah,
gonna click, you're gonna click, and one person's gonna eventually give up.
yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, like it was. Yeah, some of the Russian guys, and then you had like the early Brazilians. They were absolutely maniacs with the clicks. Uh,
I
yeah,
honestly
it was.
love Brazilians full stop, but like the Brazilian poker community just seem fantastic. Like I just
Yeah,
love how
yeah,
passionate they are.
yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Might be in
I,
trouble here for. I mean, we did see on the nuts limp call with H3 suited, but Ace 5 suited just seems like the hand that they will pull the trigger with, and obviously, absolute
it's a,
terrible
it's a,
news.
it's a magic hand. It's the magic hand.
You can do whatever you want with Ace 5 suited. Over the last couple of years, it has become the hand that you can do no wrong, but has
Yeah.
decided to just call again.
Uh-huh.
I would like them to get like an Ace 3 off or an Ace 4 off just to see if they are finding the limp raises with that, because I don't think you need to bet half pot on this board. I know you can with aces and ace king a little bit, but like in a like limp and then 3x pot, like I just think that like they're so capped like that you want to keep their range a little bit wider. But maybe I'm wrong. Like I don't know. I would
Yeah.
find it a bit unnecessary though. But hey, they got
Yeah.
called by the ace five.
Yeah.
I
I mean, now you have to just. I don't know. This one is interesting.
I would down bet even though they
Yeah.
bet half pot.
Yeah. Very interesting call by the ace five. I mean, I guess it's reasonable. I don't really know. I don't like the thing is like it really depends on his limp calling range because normally it should have like a lot of king x and queen x. So I don't think he has to call the flop with the backdoor flush draw there.
Yeah, I think I would call versus 1/3, right? Or 25%. I
Yeah.
don't know if you would, but like once it gets up to half pot, it's starting to get a bit dicey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, well, it is I'm the Nuts who is very much on the ropes here. 12 big blinds, king 10, I think limping or shoving, but I'd probably shove with king 10 and limp some like jack 10 and queen 10. Just because like we're gonna get called by a bunch of worse hands here, I think, for 12 big blinds still.
Yeah.
It's kind of awkward for them now.
Wait.
I think you should. It depends what they think of KZH, but like I think King 10 should slide into like I think you should just go all in versus the ISO.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's. I don't know. I mean, it seems to me. Yeah, it seems to me like it's just get it all in.
Interesting
Uh,
spot. I think. I mean, at this, I don't know. Like you've got the nuts like with King 10. Like I want to start putting some chips in the middle. Like this feels
Yeah.
crazy to let them away with it. All right, sorry, we were just skipping forward for the 5-minute break. It is I'm the Nuts with the 16 blinds and KZH with a almost 5-1 chip lead, and at this point, obviously a very very massive favorite. Both players guaranteed over $500,000, $657,000 for first. So is that 300k score the biggest score you've ever had?
No, I won a lot of moolah. When was it? A couple months ago.
A couple of
I don't
months
know.
ago.
Yeah.
No wonder you're retired, sitting up there chilling on the
Yeah.
farm. Is this
I know.
what did you win? What did you win? I asked you had you had a big heater, and you mentioned
Yeah,
like
but yeah,
a couple
but
of
that's
months
but
ago. Hold
yeah,
on,
no,
what did you win? What
that's
did you win?
I won the 10K on the competition site. Uh, for, for like a million, million
What?
plus. Yeah.
What? Hold on a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I did
I
not
was
know that. That is so cool, man. Honestly,
yeah, I didn't really brag about it, but yeah, it was a big
I
big one.
probably knew. I DM you from time to time, being a little
Yeah.
fanboy, being like, "Yeah, well, let's go Giraffe." But I don't remember it, but I probably knew at the time because I assume it was like it was all over Twitter. I don't
Not
know.
that much, and I was
Really?
like,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah. I didn't
Okay.
really yeah. But yeah,
That's
it was great, man, because I mean, I was playing very high the whole year, and I bricked everything like pretty hardcore. And
yeah.
then, I just one of those tournaments where you just win every hand, like win every flip
Yeah.
and shit like that. So, yeah.
Basically, my high stakes career has been that I've just ran exceptionally well at every high stakes tournament I play.
That's good, man. For me, it's always every time I move up, I lose at the highest stakes, but it just means that I start winning at the previous highest stakes.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep taking shots just to hope I start, I just keep going. And so far it works. So I'm gonna start playing like 100Ks and shit like that. So yeah.
Would you ever enjoy like actually obviously not playing like 100Ks regularly, but like is there any part of you that would enjoy that live circuit? Like do you like playing live poker?
I didn't because of I smoke. I used to smoke a lot,
Okay.
so I couldn't really sit for 4 hours. So I had to go smoke every hour. And if you play like 8 hands per hour live, you just miss like
Yeah.
2 hands. It's really not good. So, but I don't know. I don't enjoy it that much. But I mean, for fun, at Lex Live, I had
Yeah.
a great time. But
Yeah.
of course, playing like real high stakes is seems
it's
also like a lot of fun, but like the whole thing with selling action and all that stuff, I don't really like that too much. So
yeah.
maybe if I get like a rich businessman to back me, if anybody's
Hey,
watching,
if there's
you know,
anyone out there, there you go. He hasn't come on here and tried to pitch anything except for maybe a extremely high stakes backer who will
yeah,
not mind if he has a couple of beers in the last level. It would be my guess, maybe the first level.
maybe the first level, yeah, yeah.
Interesting spot. I would call for this price. Just not ready to
Yeah,
fold with two overcards,
yeah.
backdoor flush draw. Um,
I mean, it is kind
KZH.
of problematic that like you can't really like you're never happy on the turn except when you hit your 9 or your 10. Even when you like, you know, a jack comes or a 7 comes. I mean, you're still calling off. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It was a good
so
raise
cheap
by
though.
7-8. Yeah, yeah, I know, I know.
So
You
cheap.
can't fall, I think, yeah, because it's so hard to have better hands there too, and like 10-9 is okay-ish. Yeah,
We might see an all-in call here, a little bit over four big
yeah,
blinds. It is Queen 4 versus Ace Queen. It is a safe flop for KZH. It is a dicey turn, but it is a very safe river, and that is that $657,000 for KZH. Giraf, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate it. Obviously, 2 hours of your time is just class, and I got way more strategy out of you than I thought. I thought we were going to spend the entire time talking about the farm and life of just a madman who I
nah,
think is top class. Thank you so much for coming
yeah,
on. And if you want to do it again anytime in the future, I would absolutely love to.
yeah, sure, sure. I really I had a good time too.
All right, that's cool, man. Thanks so much. Thanks for watching, and see you again tomorrow. Goodbye.